Hello everyone and welcome back to another Sunday Stock Talk. We have a lot to go over for this week, but before we do, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and with that, let's get on with last week's watch list. Starting out with iRobot, ticker symbol IRBT. We called it out on Sunday of last week, and opening was February 8th. It was, we got some pretty flat candlesticks, but eventually it did go to the upside. It was a little bit of a shaky upside. We had earnings on February 11th, and it had virtually no effect, so if anyone bought in, they would have still been slightly up, around 2%. Overall, if you held through earnings, which again I don't usually do or recommend, you would have made about 11% over 4 days, so not bad. We have very low volume on this, and the MACD is very flat. Again, just because it's flat doesn't mean it doesn't go up. It went up 11%, so RSI is at fair value. I would watch this one. I'm not sure how much room it has to go. See, we have about 13.5% upside. Doesn't mean it will go up to all-time high this week or next, but that's always good to know that we have a good amount of room to go up to the all-time high. Moving on to Fastly, we had a call out right here in this area on February 8th. So then we saw some upside. If you would have bought, it would have been about 5%, but then there was a market dip, and then it just quickly went to the downside, and the market recovered, but Fastly did not. We're looking for support on the $97 zone or the $93 zone. So be on the lookout for that. Now finally, we have Sunrun, ticker symbol RUN. We had a call out right around in this area. Again, it was on Sunday, and this was the Monday opening. It opened pretty strong, but then we saw a small tiny dip. But overall, it went up around 9% from our call outs. This did relatively well. We have about 14.5% upside. Again, that doesn't mean it will happen this week or next, but it's good to know that we have possibly a lot of room to run. It's still in an uptrend currently. For those who have this, I would hold on and see where this goes. Remember the saying, the trend is your friend till the end. And right now it's trending up, so it's our friend. We shall see what this week brings. Now moving on to our watch list for this week, we have Moon, one of our innovation ETFs. It did dip with the market on the 10th. It did not break the SMA, however. In this case, it's a 6-day SMA. And then went back to the upside, but we are finding resistance at the $50 zone. We have some wicks that tried to break through here. I'll be looking out for this week to see if we actually break through and actually continue on with this uptrend. Next, we have another innovation ETF, ARK, which is many people's favorite ETF. We saw some sideways price action last week, but it looks like it may continue to the upside. The Bollinger Bands are getting tight. When they tighten, they will, like a rubber band, tend to expand out again. But that could also expand to the downside or to the upside. MACD, like Moon, is slightly bearish, but it looks like it may have a bullish convergence here soon. Again, there is a risk in buying before we get bullish convergence. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't necessarily buy, or you shouldn't necessarily buy. We had an uptrend here, and it was in the bearish territory on the MACD over here, as an example. But just so you know, there is more risk when it is bearish. See, it went bearish right here. All this was bearish, and then we saw clearly a downside. So keep that in mind. Look out for a convergence for this week and a continuation to the upside, and for these Bollinger Bands to expand. Next, we have another ETF, YOLO, a devil's lettuce ETF, or cannabis as others call it. I also kind of linked TLRY to this because TLRY follows a slightly similar pattern. We're now on TLRY, ticker symbol TLRY. We saw a massive run, and then it topped out around $63, and then just a massive dip. It came crashing down to earth. We might find some support at this $25 zone, so look out for support here. And if we don't get support there, I imagine the next level would be $18. But I I think it will find support around the $25 zone, so look out again for this level of support. This, I believe, will go back up eventually. It's not a bad thing for things to dip like this, because then we're getting at a cheaper price, and it's most likely going to go up in the future. I imagine marijuana and cannabis and what have you, whatever name you have for the devil's lettuce will continue to grow in America and Canada and throughout the world, so it's becoming more socially acceptable. Let's go back to YOLO real quick. Same thing with YOLO, support level for YOLO. If you trade this, the cannabis ETF, which is my favorite ETF, I know others have marijuana ETFs they really like, but it might fall to this $25 zone, so look out for this level right here and a breaking of the SMA and hopefully a recovery here soon. It may not, I don't think it will necessarily be that quick. We might see some sideways price action until we see another uptrend again, so keep your eye on this. It may not happen this week or next, but just be aware of this. Next we have Palantir. We called it out on Sunday, and unless you bought before the market opened, if you bought in pre-market, there was a massive run up, then some cooling off, and then it ran back up, but then it dipped really hard when the market dipped in. It did not recover with the market. So now we're about to test this $71 zone. We'll see if we find support here. It might dip slightly below this zone. Now look out for support. We have earnings on Tuesday the 16th, so that may affect. If they have a good earnings report, it might just bounce really hard back to the upside, or if somehow they have a bad earnings report, which I don't imagine, but sometimes they have a good earnings report. Companies will have a good earnings report and it will just continue to the downside. I don't think that would necessarily happen. From my experience, usually when it's going to the downside and has a good earnings report, it recovers. But I would wait for the earnings report to come out and then see what happens. If it shoots up, then you can buy back in, and then we'll ride the uptrend, because this one's one of those very popular stocks that everyone jumps on. So yeah, just look out for Tuesday on this one, and hopefully we get a good recovery and ride it back to the top. Now I have a bonus stock, NIO. I did call this out on StockTwits. Many of you found me on StockTwits. If you have a StockTwits or Twitter, I'm going to start utilizing Twitter and giving the same messages out here starting this week. So sometimes I will call things out on StockTwits and soon to be Twitter that I did not necessarily call out on the video. I called out NIO in this area, and it did have a little good uptrend, and then we had the whole market dip, and it hasn't yet recovered, but we got a little bit of a 6% increase over a 2-day period, so not bad. I will call things out on Twitter and StockTwits, so be on the lookout for those when I call them out. Regarding NIO real quick, looks like it might be doing a sideways channel here a little bit, so it might start bouncing around within this channel possibly. So be on the lookout for NIO on both support on the technical side and see if there's any news coming out on the fundamental side. This is stock I imagine will go up greatly in the future. I know they've been talking about coming to America, so it might run up a little bit from news from that. Well, that about wraps up this video. If you like what you've seen here, please give us a like. That will greatly help out the channel. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you, and until next time.